Hello, this is wmpyr. I'm here to try kind of like a radio podcast type of thing, kind of a new format. So please bear with me. And yeah, I want to talk about like kind of like making your own style, making things your own, that kind of stuff, because that is actually one of my popular videos here on YouTube. And in YouTube land, I think there's a lot of people, especially young people, that are interested in making their own style. Maybe you have been practicing martial arts for 2, 3, 4 years, and you think like, "Hey, man, I got something special, and I want to make my own style." Now, something really quick that I kind of like want to share with you guys is that in Japan, more and more recently, I'm getting more and more Japanese viewers, and exchanging thoughts and ideas and hearing comments from them, and it's really opened the doors for me, and it's very interesting. And I mentioned to them that in Filipino martial arts, the way it was taught to me, for arnis. That was the first Filipino martial arts style that I learned. It's called arnis, right? Or arnis. And in that, I learned that there is a traditional version called arnis de mano, and then there is something also called modern arnis. So there's two, okay? There's two versions. One's traditional and the other's modern, basically, right? And the way it was explained to me is that the modern arnis, and I didn't understand this at the time, but modern arnis is when you make it your own. So you learn the traditional arnis and then you make it into your own. What does that mean? And people might think, does that mean you make your own style and blah, 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 right? And making it your own means you custom fit for it to work for you, okay? Because every individual is different. Every individual has different experiences, right? So some people mix different styles. Now you might mix praying mantis kung fu, you might put in some tai chi in there and some Wing Chun in there, and then someone else may, they like more like boxing and wrestling, and they'll mix that with the Filipino martial arts. And then you might have someone else that wants to mix in Krav Maga and Judo, and everybody's different, right? But the way that I kind of want to give you guys an example is that it's like going to buy a suit jacket, right? So imagine you go to the store and you want to buy a suit jacket, like a blazer, right? And when you go into the store, for the average person, a regular store, is they have different sizes: small, medium, large, extra large, whatever, right? And you buy the one that fits you, and that's it. Now you go to a store that's a little fancier. Not only do you pick the size that's right for you, then they custom tailor fit it, right? They fit it to you. They measure it, and then they make adjustments, okay? So think of it like that. When they say make your own style, that's what you're doing. It's not that you're, really making a brand new style, because what we're talking about here is about the individual. So it needs to fit to you. So you're going to make adjustments for you. That's what this is, okay? Because as far as like making a new style, I mean, really, to make something completely brand new that no one has ever seen before is difficult, because think of how long we have been history-wise. Since ancient times, martial arts has existed. And then on top of that, I want you to think about today's population. What is it, 6 billion people on the planet? Okay. You have to think that by now, pretty much everything new and all, strategy, techniques, style-wise, all of that has been uncovered. Okay, it's very, very difficult to really come up with something original and brand new. It really is. Okay, so that kind of mentality in Japan, like when I say, hey, you guys need to make your own style, people were looking at me like, what? No way. that is so arrogant. There's no way we could do something like that. That's the attitude that I got back, because the general Japanese idea is that martial arts is not that easy, where anyone can just come up with a new style. They're like, no way. That's the way they view it. And I think that's a good attitude to have. But I had to explain to them that that is not what you're doing, as far as making it your own, making this new style for you doesn't mean that we're creating a really brand new style that has never existed. If that's not what I'm really talking about here, and for the US audience, I feel like in some ways maybe there's way too many people making up new styles, and just it's kind of disrespectful, and a lot of people, they really don't know what they're talking about, and then they start bashing other styles to promote their style, and it's really, capitalism has invaded the martial arts world, and it really doesn't belong there, in my opinion. So this whole marketing and this brand, and let's spread the brand, and here I am saying all this, and what you're looking at right now on the screen is my brand right here, is what you're seeing. But what I want you guys to understand is that I'm trying my best to keep the spirit alive, okay, of what was taught to me, which is this, what you're seeing right here, the wmpyr brand, the wmpyr Due of Eskrima. Okay, this ends the moment I teach it to somebody, and then from there, they're going to make it their own, so then it ends right there, okay? There is no second generation wmpyr Eskrima. Yeah, it should always end with the first generation, because if you do it right, you make it your own. And that is what I want you guys to know. I have no interest in spreading my brand and dominating the world and making a lot of money and have successful schools all over, all over the nation and blah, blah, blah. No. To me, that's a tyrant. Okay, that's a monopoly, and I am not interested in that. I feel like that's wrong. Okay, and people, I know, we are conditioned to do that. If you're a martial arts instructor, you're supposed to do that, and I think that's wrong, and I think that's sick, and we should get out of that. And I'm definitely not in that, and that's not what I'm doing. Okay. If you want to wear like my t-shirt or something like that, that's and think that's cool, and then that's fine, but it ends there. Okay, in the future you may see me wearing my own wmpyr brand t-shirt with a logo like this that you're seeing right now on it, but that's it. I don't believe in, okay, I'm gonna make bunch of chapter houses, and then they're going to be my affiliations, and they got to pay me all this money every year. No. Disgusting, gross. And if I ever do that, please call me out on it. Okay, that is, I'm 100% against that. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that it's good to have the respect to go, I can't just make a new style. Everything's already been thought of. That's a good, humble viewpoint to have. But then at the same time, right, to make it your own, make it work for you, make it fit for you. What kind of background do you have? Maybe you were high school wrestling, or maybe your dad took you out to the backyard to toughen you up and taught you some boxing, or maybe you had an uncle who was a traditional martial arts guy or whatever, and they taught you. So everybody has these kinds of different backgrounds, and then you mix that with, like, let's say Eskrima or whatever it is, and now you got to make it fit you. And I'm not just talking about combining styles together, okay? What I'm saying is, one is for me to further understand Eskrima, because sometimes, believe it or not, you think, okay, I could just study Eskrima, and I just study it, right? And then I'm going to learn everything. No, it's not that easy. Sometimes you could study it, you could spend decades into it, and there's things that you just simply do not understand. That's the honest truth. Whoever invented Eskrima, Kali Arnis, was a genius. I'm a regular person, so I'm supposed to be able to instantly understand what the genius did. That would be like me picking up a book written by Einstein and I could read it and I understand everything in it. There's no way, that I'm not at the same level, right? So I want you guys to understand that. So as you study it and you're spending time trying to learn and decode the stuff rather than, oh, this doesn't work, instead of immediately going there, you should, as you're studying it, sometimes I just hit a blank and I'm like, I do not understand this. And then I might take a break and study a totally different martial arts style, like wrestling or karate or hapkido or whatever, right? And as I do that, it might help me with that block that I had in Eskrima. And I might go, oh, think I think I'm starting to, melt the ice there and reveal what was underneath, kind of thing. And that might take, more time, but sometimes it's good to do that. At least I have found that that is one way to tackle, this kind of thing. So anyway, another thing I want to explain to you guys is that, how can I say, when I was training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, the last school for me was Carlos Machado's school. And I was up there and he was teaching me basically two different things. Number one was he was teaching me the entire art. He was like, hey, this is for you to master. If you want to master Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you need to do this. And that was a broad program, obviously, and it had like mount, back mount, half mount, guard, half guard, open guard, and then on top of that you had like side, the variations of side, like kesa gatame, and then there was like reverse kesa gatame. You had knee on the belly, you had north-south position, and those were the main positions, but there was more stuff. Obviously there's escapes, there's arm bars, there's submissions, all kinds of submissions, there's gi chokes, all that kind of stuff is in all of that. That's the mastery of the whole Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu art. There's tons of stuff there, right? Now, for me, I knew that that's all great and everything, but my goal was to be able to use this stuff in full contact, right? That was my goal from the very beginning. And for me to use it in full contact, well, I needed a system because we're talking about actual usage here, right? And what I'm talking about is there's a big difference there, okay? And the second part, so he was teaching me the entire style as far as like mastery for BJJ, which is great and everything. The second stuff that he was doing was he would watch me like spar and stuff, and he would see weaknesses, and he would be like, okay, the way you escape from side is not very efficient, or I see that it's not working too well for you, or whatever. And he would fine-tune stuff like that for me, and that honestly I was more interested in, just because as far as like actual application, that was a lot closer to application. Whereas to mastery of the entire art, that's obviously going to take me a lot of time. I was not even close to that, But anyway, so I knew since college, I'd say in high school, from Bruce Lee's teaching, I understood that I needed a system to be able to fight, and Bruce Lee repeatedly says this in many different ways, that you have to up the quality of your techniques and your strategy, that you can't have a million different techniques and you're not going to use that stuff, right? So all those kinds of sayings that in there, I understood he was talking about a system that, it's a daily decrease, not an increase, all that stuff, right? And when I was in college, this was when I was applying the stuff in full contact. So I was fighting against people from other styles, right? And when I was actually doing challenge matches, I had a system. and of course the system at first was a baby, and then it got bigger and bigger, and it got more complete. I wouldn't say it's complete, but it got more and more to the point where, I was using it and doing well with this system, right? And that system, of course, was, it was for fighting. Okay, so the same thing with BJJ. I needed a system so that I could apply the stuff. And when I look back on it, it's very easy if you guys look at it this way. Okay, I'm in Texas. I'm a small Asian dude, right? And I'm not getting the mount in class. Okay, 90% of the people in class are twice my size. They're bigger than me. There's no way that I'm getting the mount, right? I'm not getting the top position. I'm always on the bottom. So then naturally, right? So if I'm learning the full art, then they're going to teach me mount stuff, knee on the belly stuff, all these other positions. But in reality, I spent most of my time on my back, okay, on the bottom. So then, as far as like actual system wise, it only made sense for me to become a bottom fighter. So I was using the guard, right? But then by the time I got to Carlos Machado's school, I couldn't even get the guard. The people were that good there. Yeah, they really were. So I found myself in half guard. I'm not even. So then it's kind of like, why even practice the guard? Because I'm not getting it. So most of the time that I spent when I went up against upper belts was I was in half guard and I was in quarter guard. So then I was like, well, then damn, system is what I can do, what I am using in, actual fighting, or, in this case, in full contact grappling, right? So then I'm like, okay, then it's half guard, quarter guard. That what was happening. If I was lucky, I get half guard, but then I notice all these guys are good. They're passing my guard. So then I'm in quarter guard, barely hanging on. So I spent the most time in half guard, quarter guard. So my system it revolved around that, right? So the way that I fought in BJJ was completely centered around half guard and quarter guard. Now, does that mean that I invented a new style of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu? No, it does not mean that I invented a new style. Now, I had some moves that I invented that I did, I've never seen anywhere else, even to this day, that I haven't seen, right? So I invented some moves there, but is that enough to say that I invented a new style of grappling? No. So to me, you want to call this the wmpyr method of BJJ? Sure, okay. But in all honesty, it wasn't just BJJ. It was mixed with like sambo and wrestling and catch wrestling and judo and other grappling systems as well. But the majority, yes, was BJJ. I will definitely give credit there, give credit to that for sure. But yeah, it's a different way of fighting. I haven't met a whole lot of people where they go, how do you do BJJ? And they're like, well, my specialty is a quarter guard. I haven't met a whole lot of people like that. In fact, I haven't. So that's what I did, right? And that is me getting BJJ, and I put in Aikido and Wing Chun concepts in there as well. Okay, and techniques from other styles. I put that in there as well. Okay, and so once again, I still wouldn't call it I invented a new style of BJJ. No, but I would say I made BJJ into my own, to where I can use it. So it is the wmpyr method of BJJ. That, sure, I'll call. So same thing with the wmpyr method of Eskrima. This is, at first I thought I had something so different. I gave it a new name. It was called K4S. I thought I invented a new style. But now, looking back on it, I don't feel this way anymore. And I feel like more than ever that what I'm doing, my Eskrima, as weird as it looks, as different compared to normal Eskrima, I feel like I'm more closer to Eskrima concepts and principles than the other styles that are doing textbook Eskrima. I feel like they've deviated from the real Eskrima. And I'm not here to say I'm better or anything like that. I just feel like maybe they have forgotten some of the things. Like, for example, when you are doing disarms with the stick, and you're using the stick because the stick has tremendous amount of leverage. But remember, the stick originally, historically, was the practice weapon that it symbolized the sword, the one-handed sword. So then if that's the case, why are you grabbing the stick? So therefore, I was like, forget that. I'm going back to the roots of Eskrima, and I'm not going to use, even though it's easier if I grab the stick, I'm not going to do that. And when you don't do that, then my disarms I can do with knife. I can do with other weapons. I can do with a machete, But the people that are doing, where they're grabbing the stick and, they're doing disarms and they make it look like a magic trick and they make it look easy and, it looks like a Hollywood movie. I feel like they've kind of missed the point there, as far as the true spirit of Eskrima. And you want to practice that stuff for learning and studying leverage, I have no problem. But if you think that you're going to be able to do that in a real life situation, and you think you're going to be able to do that against a guy with a knife, then I do feel that you've totally lost the soul of Eskrima. And then in that case, that's where I feel like I went back to the source, and my method is more pure in that sense. And so I have no regrets. Like, people look at my Eskrima and they go, "What the hell are you doing?" And I feel like I'm doing Eskrima, dude. I'm doing like real Eskrima. That's how I feel. Okay. But anyway, yeah. I just want you guys to understand this whole making a new style. Please, I kind of feel like you guys don't do it. Okay, you want to mix it with other styles and stuff, that's great, but that doesn't mean that it's, oh, you made a new style. Okay, I used to think that way. I say, please graduate from that. That is no way. Okay, and then the other thing is, it's making a new style. Really, in this day and age, more so than ever, I feel like it's really about making it your own. Okay, make it your own. And so please, if you guys could change the focus there, I think that would be awesome. And anyway, that's it for now. Thank you for viewing, and take care, folks.